I had known Marcus since our freshman year at the University of Washington, back when we were both figuring out how to navigate the world as the only openly gay guys in our dorm. He was the steady one, the architect with blueprints for everything, while I patched together freelance graphic design gigs and nursed a string of half-hearted dates that never quite stuck. Liam was the ghost in Marcus's stories, the baby brother 5 years younger, always off at some East Coast boarding school or summer camp, shielded from the messiness of family dinners where Marcus and I would sneak beers and whisper about crushes. I pictured him as this ethereal kid, all wide-eyed innocence, but Marcus's tone that night painted something sharper, something broken. By the time Liam showed up at my door 2 days later, the storm had eased into a persistent drizzle that clung to everything like regret. He stood there in the hallway, light duffel bag slung over one shoulder, soaked through despite the awning. 26, but he looked younger, his frame lean from too many skipped meals, black hair plastered to his forehead in wet curls. His eyes, stormy grey, like the Puget Sound on a bad day, locked onto mine with an intensity that made my chest tighten. "You're Aiden," he said, not a question, his voice low and edged with exhaustion, like he'd been rehearsing it. "Marcus said you'd save my ass." I stepped aside, the scent of rain and something faintly metallic, cigarettes, maybe, trailing him in. My place wasn't much, a one-bedroom in Capitol Hill, walls lined with my sketches of abstract cityscapes, the kind that hid the loneliness in bold lines and faded colors. The living room couch was buried under throw pillows I'd impulse bought during a particularly bleak winter, and the kitchen counter held take-out containers from last night's solo Thai feast. "Make yourself at home," I muttered, handing him a towel from the linen closet. Marcus didn't give details, but "Whatever you need." He dropped his bag and peeled off his jacket, revealing a threadbare band tee from some indie group I'd never heard of, stretched tight across his shoulders. Water pooled at his feet, and he glanced down, a ghost of a smile flickering. Story of my life. Flooding everything I touch. There was a rawness in it, a self-deprecation that hooked into me deeper than I expected. I busied myself making coffee, strong, black, the way Marcus always swore by, while he sank onto the couch, knees drawn up like he was bracing for impact. Over the next hour, as the city lights flickered back to life outside, Liam unraveled just enough to let me see the frayed edges. He'd left his job in Boston, some tech startup that promised the world but delivered burnout, and then his boyfriend of 2 years, who turned out to be more interested in the closet than in him. He said it was a phase, Liam whispered, staring into the mug like it held answers. After 3 years of me pouring everything into us. Said he'd always love me, but from a distance. Like I was some experiment gone wrong. His fingers tightened around the ceramic, knuckles whitening, and I saw the tremor there, the one that spoke of nights spent pacing hotel rooms or staring at ceilings in strangers' Airbnbs. I sat across from him on the armchair, the one with the spring that poked through the fabric, and listened. Really listened, the way you do when someone's pain mirrors your own buried scars. My last real relationship had ended a year ago with Evan, a barista with a laugh like summer, who ghosted me after I suggested meeting his family. Too soon, he'd texted, and that was that. Since then, it was apps and awkward hookups, the kind that left you emptier than before. "That's bullshit," I said finally, my voice steadier than I felt. "You're not a phase, Liam. You're the whole damn story." He looked up then, those grey eyes meeting mine, and for a split second, the room felt smaller, the air thicker. Rain pattered against the glass like applause for something unspoken. "Marcus always said you were the good one," he replied, a hint of warmth breaking through. "The one who sticks around." That night, as I lay in bed listening to the faint creak of the couch springs and the rhythm of his breathing through the thin walls, I told myself this was just temporary. A favor for a friend. A kindness extended to a stranger who needed it. But sleep came slow, tangled with the echo of his voice, the way his gaze had lingered just a beat too long. Seattle's fog rolled in thick the next morning, wrapping the city in a hush that mirrored the quiet building between us. We fell into a rhythm faster than I anticipated. Morning started with coffee on the balcony, overlooking the misty streets of Capitol Hill where hipsters peddled artisanal everything and dog walkers dodged puddles. Liam would scroll through job listings on his laptop, marketing gigs, creative writing prompts, while I sketched logos for a local brewery, the kind of work that paid the rent but starved the soul. "What's this one?" he'd ask, leaning over my shoulder, his breath warm against my neck, close enough that I could smell the faint citrus of my shampoo on him from the shared bathroom. "A rebrand for Pike Place. They want authentic Northwest vibe." I'd laugh, but his proximity sent a low hum through me, like the buzz of the city waking up. Afternoons blurred into walks along the waterfront, where the ferries cut through the sound like silver arrows, and we'd talk about everything and nothing. He confessed his love for old vinyl records, the crackle of needle on groove, and how Boston's relentless pace had drowned out the music in him. I shared stories of my failed art school dreams, how I'd traded canvas for pixels to chase stability in a city that chewed up dreamers. One evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the Olympics in bruised purples, we ended up at a dive bar in Belltown, the kind with sticky floors and neon signs buzzing like fireflies. Marcus had texted to check in, "How's the charity case?" And I'd replied with a thumbs-up emoji, omitting the way Liam's knee brushed mine under the table. 2 beers in, and he was animated, recounting a disastrous road trip through Vermont where he'd gotten lost in the greens and found himself staring at stars that felt too vast. "It was terrifying," he said, his hand gesturing wide, fingers grazing my arm. "Like, what if that's all there is? Just you, alone, under all that sky?" I swallowed the lump in my throat, the one that rose whenever his vulnerability cracked open. "Then you find someone to share it with," I said, my words hanging heavy in the dim light. His eyes softened, searching mine, and for a moment, the bar faded, the clink of glasses, the murmur of strangers, leaving just us, suspended in that electric pause. Back home, the rain had picked up again, drumming a lullaby against the roof. Liam paused in the hallway, towel slung low on his hips after a shower, water droplets tracing paths down his chest. "Thanks for tonight," he murmured, voice husky. "For everything." I nodded, words failing as I retreated to my room, heart pounding like the storm outside. In the dark, I replayed it all, the accidental touches, the shared silences, wondering if it was the beer or something deeper pulling me under. The days stretched into a week, then 2, and the lines blurred. He'd cook, simple pasta with herbs from the corner market, flavors bold and unapologetic, while I edited photos on my tablet, stealing glances at the way his hips swayed to some playlist of indie folk. One night, after a screening of an old Wong Kar-wai film at the local art house, in the mood for love, all longing glances and unspoken aches, we walked home in silence, shoulders brushing. "That film," he said finally, as we climbed the stairs to my floor, "it's like watching your own heart get dissected." I unlocked the door, the key sticking as always, and turned to him in the threshold light. "Yeah. Makes you wonder if it's worth the pain." Our eyes met, and there it was again, that pull, magnetic and inevitable. He stepped closer, the space between us shrinking to nothing, his hand lifting as if to touch my face but hovering, uncertain. I closed the gap instead, my lips brushing his in a tentative press that ignited like dry tinder. He tasted of popcorn and salt, of rain-soaked streets and hidden hurts, and when his arms wrapped around me, pulling me flush against him, the world narrowed to the heat of his skin, the soft hitch in his breath. We stumbled inside, door clicking shut behind us, and for the first time in years, I let myself fall, into him, into the chaos of what came next. The morning after tasted like stolen sunlight filtering through half-drawn blinds, casting golden stripes across the tangled sheets. Liam stirred beside me, his leg draped over mine in lazy possession, dark lashes fanned against his cheeks. I traced the line of his shoulder with my fingertip, marveling at the freckles scattered there like forgotten constellations, and for a heartbeat, the world felt remade, whole, unfractured. But reality crept in with the buzz of my alarm, a shrill reminder of client emails piling up and the rent due in 10 days. I slipped out of bed, padding to the kitchen in boxers and a tee, the cool linoleum grounding me. Coffee brewed, its rich aroma weaving through the air, and I leaned against the counter, replaying the night in fragments, his whispers against my neck, the way he'd arched under my touch like he was unraveling a knot held too tight. When he emerged, hair sleep-tousled and wearing my oversized flannel, a shy grin splitting his face, I handed him a mug without a word. "Morning," he said, voice gravelly, eyes crinkling at the corners. "Morning." We sipped in companionable quiet, the city humming awake below, horns blaring faintly, the distant rumble of the light rail. It was domestic, easy, the kind of intimacy I'd craved without naming it. But beneath it simmered questions: how long could this last? What happened when Marcus found out, or when Liam's life pulled him back east? We spent the day wandering Pike Place Market, dodging tourists and the tang of fresh fish on ice. He bought me a bouquet of wildflowers from a vendor with a booming laugh, tucking one behind my ear with a flourish that made my cheeks heat. "Suits you," he teased, and I swatted his hand away, laughing despite the flutter in my chest. Lunch was clam chowder in sourdough bowls, steam rising like secrets between us, and he talked about his dreams, writing a novel, maybe, something raw about lost boys in big cities. "You could illustrate it," he said, eyes lighting up. "Your sketches have that soul, Aidan. The kind that sticks." His belief in me chipped at the walls I'd built around my art, the ones reinforced by rejection emails and almosts that never panned out. Back home, we curled on the couch with laptops, him typing furiously into a blank document, me refining a pitch for a gallery show I'd been too scared to submit. The rain held off, a rare mercy, and as evening fell, we cooked together, stir-fry with veggies from the market, chopsticks clacking like Morse code. His foot nudged mine under the table, a deliberate anchor, and when we cleared the dishes, his kiss was slower, deeper, hands framing my face as if I were something precious. That night, tangled again in the sheets, he confessed more fragments of his past, the pressure of being the golden child in a family that prized perfection over presence. "Dad wanted me to follow Marcus into engineering," he murmured into the dark, my head on his chest, heartbeat steady under my ear. "But I couldn't. Not when all I wanted was to feel seen." His fingers combed through my hair, gentle, and I shared my own ghosts, the high school bullying that sent me spiraling, the therapy sessions where I'd learned to name the ache of invisibility. "You're seen now," I whispered, pressing a kiss to his collarbone. "By me." The idol stretched, fragile as sea glass. Marcus called midweek, his voice buoyant over speakerphone as Liam balanced the phone on his knee, my head in his lap. "How's the prodigal son?" Marcus joked, oblivious. "Treating my buddy right." Liam's eyes met mine, a spark of mischief, and he replied with a casual more than right, his thumb tracing circles on my thigh. We hung up laughing, but the call lodged a splinter of unease. Secrets have a way of sharpening in the light. By the second weekend, we'd mapped out Seattle like lovers claiming territory, a hike in Discovery Park where ferns brushed our calves and the salt air sharpened our senses, a poetry slam in Fremont where he read an impromptu piece about eyes like harbor lights, his voice steady, mine swelling with pride. At home, intimacy deepened, lazy Sundays in bed, bodies mapping each other with reverent touches, laughter bubbling up when elbows knocked or knees tangled wrong. He fit into my life like a missing panel in a mosaic, coloring the mundane vivid. Yet cracks whispered at the edges. Late one night, as I dozed, his phone lit up on the nightstand, a text from Jay that read, "Miss you. Come back." He silenced it quickly, but I pretended sleep, the name a thorn under my skin. The next day, over brunch at a cafe in Queen and with mismatched mugs and avocado toast, I broached it lightly. "Old flames." He hesitated, fork pausing mid-air, then shrugged with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Just noise. Nothing real." I nodded, swallowing doubt, but it lingered, a shadow in the periphery. Marcus arrived unannounced on Friday, barreling through the door with takeout from his favorite faux spot and a six-pack of craft IPA. "Family reunion," he declared, clapping Liam on the back, then pulling me into a bear hug that smelled of sawdust from his latest build site. We sprawled in the living room, bowls steaming, stories flowing like the beer. Marcus regaled us with tales of a client meltdown, his hands gesturing wildly, while Liam leaned into me, arm casual around my shoulders. The air thickened when Marcus asked about Liam's plans, job hunt going okay. And Liam's grip tightened fractionally. "It's progressing," Liam said, evasive, and I felt the shift, the undercurrent Marcus missed in his easy chatter. Later, as Marcus dozed on the couch mid-movie, a gritty indie about redemption in the Rust Belt, Liam pulled me into the kitchen under pretense of refills. Don't say anything yet, he breathed, forehead against mine, urgency in his whisper. Not to him. Please. His eyes pleaded, vulnerable, and I cupped his face, thumb brushing his lip. Your call. But I'm here. The kiss that followed was fierce, a claim against the uncertainty, hands urgent on counters slick with condensation. Marcus stirred minutes later, none the wiser, and we rejoined him with flushed faces and averted eyes. That night, after he'd crashed in the guest room, my bed too small for three, Liam slipped into my room, body curling against mine like a question mark. I don't want to lose this, he murmured, voice muffled in my neck. Us. You won't, I promised. Even as doubt gnawed, Jay's text a spectre, Marcus's oblivious trust await. Sleep came fitful, dreams laced with tidal pools, the sound of waves crashing too close. The following week brought a fragile normalcy. Liam landed interviews, remote freelance for a Portland agency, and I submitted my portfolio to that gallery, heart hammering as I hit send. We celebrated with rooftop drinks at a neighbor's party, fairy lights strung like stars, his hand in mine under the table as we swayed to a playlist of 90s alt-rock. Strangers complimented our vibes, and he laughed, pulling me closer, lips brushing my temple. They're right, he said softly. This feels like home. But home has foundations that shift. One evening, returning from a run along the Burke-Gilman Trail, sweat cooling on my skin, I found him on the balcony, phone to his ear, voice low and strained. I can't just up and leave, Jordan. It's complicated now. He hung up as I approached, expression shuttering like blinds drawn. Who? I asked, towel around my neck, pulse spiking not from the miles. He sighed, running a hand through his hair. My ex. The one from Boston. He's persistent. The admission hung, laced with omission, and I pressed, voice tighter than intended. Persistent how? Texts aren't just noise, Liam. His jaw set, defensiveness flickering. It's nothing. He's dealing with his own shit, coming out to his family, freaking out. Wants advice, that's all. Jealousy coiled low, irrational but insistent. Advice from the guy who broke you. He recoiled, eyes flashing. You don't get it, Aiden. Not everyone's as put together as you pretend to be. The word stung, slicing through the warmth we'd built, and I turned away, shower running hot to drown the hurt. When I emerged, he was asleep on the couch, blanket pulled tight, a wall rebuilt in the space between us. Apologies came with breakfast, pancakes from a mix, blueberries scattered like apologies, and we mended, tentative, kisses soft as bandages. But the fracture lingered, a hairline crack widening with each unspoken fear. Marcus texted about a weekend getaway, cabin in the Cascades. Brother's trip. And Liam's enthusiasm faltered, eyes distant. Sounds great, he replied, but later, alone, he confessed, I don't want to share you. Not yet. The possessiveness thrilled and terrified, a mirror to my own clinging. We pushed forward, planning a date night at Carnley's, the upscale spot with views of the Sound like spilled ink. Dressed up, me in a button-down that hugged my frame, him in slacks that accentuated his lean lines, we savored scallops and wine, toasts to whatever comes next. His foot hooked around my ankle under the table, a silent vow, and as we drove home through winding roads, his hand on my thigh felt like anchor. In bed, lovemaking was slower, exploratory, bodies whispering forgiveness. I love you, he breathed against my skin, the word slipping out unbidden, and I froze, heart slamming. What? He pulled back, eyes wide with the weight of it. I do. God, Aiden, I didn't mean to, it's too soon, but. Joy surged, chasing shadows, and I kissed him fiercely. I love you too. The confession sealed us, a pact against the gathering storm. Yet storms brew unseen. Days later, a package arrived, unmarked, addressed to Liam, containing a stack of letters, handwritten, edges curled. He burned them in the sink that night, flame-licking paper until ash swirled down the drain, his face etched with resolve. Past is past, he said, but his hands shook, and I held him until dawn, wondering what embers still smoldered. Autumn deepened in Seattle, leaves turning the streets into veins of amber and rust, mirroring the slow burn of our days. Liam's freelance gig solidified, copy for a sustainable fashion line, words that flowed from him like confessions, and mine followed suit, the gallery emailing a promising response that had me pacing the apartment, high on possibility. We marked it with a picnic in Gas Works Park, kites dotting the sky like errant thoughts, his head in my lap as I read aloud from a dog-eared copy of The Great Gatsby, voices weaving with the wind off Lake Union. "You're my green light," he murmured, fingers interlacing with mine, and I laughed, the sound light despite the ache his words evoked, love as pursuit, endless and illusory. But in those moments, it felt tangible, etched in the freckles on his nose, the curve of his smile when he caught me staring. Nights blurred into mornings of shared showers, steam fogging mirrors as hands explored with familiar hunger, laughter echoing off tiles when soap slipped or elbows bumped. Marcus's cabin trip loomed, a specter of normalcy. We drove east into the Cascades, windows down, playlist heavy on Bon Iver and Fleet Foxes, harmonies swelling with the pines. The cabin was rustic, log walls, a stone fireplace that crackled like old bones, and Marcus arrived with coolers of provisions, his energy a whirlwind. Finally, some quality time, he boomed, unloading gear, oblivious to the undercurrent, the way Liam's hand brushed mine in passing, electric and concealed. Hikes filled the days, trails slick with moss, waterfalls thundering like heartbeats. Marcus led, stories of childhood adventures spilling out, fishing trips with their dad, the time Liam fell into the creek and emerged sputtering, a frog in his pocket. Liam hung back with me, our pace sinking, whispers traded about constellations we'd name after each other. "Aiden Star," he said one afternoon, perched on a boulder overlooking a valley ablaze in fall colors. Bright, but a little hidden. Evenings by the fire, s'mores sticky on fingers, Marcus probed gently. "So, what's the plan, little bro? Back to Boston, or sticking around?" Liam's gaze flicked to me, flame-lit, and he shrugged. "Thinking Seattle. Got roots here now." Marcus clapped his shoulder, pride evident, but I saw the flicker in Liam's eyes, roots tangled with thorns. Nights were the hardest. Marcus snored in the loft, a rhythmic anchor, while Liam and I shared the queen in the main room, bodies pressed close under quilts, breaths mingling in the dark. "Miss having you to myself," he whispered once, lips grazing my ear, and sliding under fabric with intent. We stifled moans into pillows, urgency sharpened by secrecy, release a quiet thunder. But dawn brought separation, coffee shared with forced casualness, my skin still humming from his touch. The drive home was quieter, Marcus dozing in the back, Liam's hand on my knee a secret morse. That was torture, he admitted later, once alone, pulling me onto the couch with a groan. But worth it. For him. We made love there, slow and unhurried, reclaiming space, his body arching like a bowstring under mine. Afterward, curled together, he traced patterns on my back. What if we told him about us? The question hung, heavy as the rain resuming outside. "When you're ready," I said, kissing his temple, but readiness felt like a horizon, always receding. Instead, we built in shadows, stolen weekends in Portland, wandering Powell's city of books, hands brushing spines as if touching each other. He read passages from queer poets, Walt Whitman, Ocean Vuong, voice husky with meaning, and I sketched him in the margins, lines capturing the tilt of his head, the vulnerability in his throat. Back in Seattle, routine anchored us. I landed the gallery show, 3 pieces, abstract explorations of urban isolation, and Liam was there for the opening, tie loosened, eyes proud as he circulated, charming curators with ease. My artist's night, he toasted later at a dive nearby, clinking glasses, the room spinning with congratulations and cheap champagne. High on it all, we danced in the apartment to Nina Simone, bodies swaying, his laughter in my ear like melody. But joy has its underbelly. Jordan's calls persisted, voicemails deleted unheard, but the notifications a persistent itch. One night, after an argument over nothing, dishes left in the sink, tone sharper than intended, Liam snapped, phone slamming down. "He's my brother, Aiden. Not some threat." "Brother?" The word landed like a misstep, twisting. Wait, Jordan's your stepbrother, he cut in, deflating, sinking onto the bed. The story spilled then, halting, their parents' messy divorce, Jordan's resentment festering into something darker, the relationship, the blurred line of comfort and confusion in the aftermath. It was wrong. I know that now. But he won't let go. Tears tracked his cheeks, and I held him, rage simmering at the violation, tenderness at his fragility. You're safe, I murmured, rocking him. With me. Healing came piecemeal. Therapy sessions for him are virtual, with a counselor specializing in family trauma, and walks for us, Lake Washington glittering under overcast skies, words unpacking layers. I thought love was endurance, he said one dusk, pebbles crunching underfoot. Surviving the mess. But with you, it's breathing. Thanksgiving approached, Marcus insistent on a family dinner at his Queen and Row house. Bring dates if you want, he joked over beers, winking, and Liam's hand stilled on his pint. We arrived together, separate cars a charade, bearing pies from a bakery in Ballard. The table groaned with turkey, cranberry relish, stories from their mom via video call, warm, oblivious. Under the cloth, Liam's foot nudged mine, a lifeline, and I endured Marcus's tales of holiday disasters, laughter masking the ache of half-truths. After, dishes clattering, Marcus cornered me in the kitchen. Liam seems different. Good different. You two bonding. His eyes searched, brotherly concern laced with something sharper. Yeah, I replied, suds on my sleeves. He's solid. A beat, then Marcus nodded, clapping my back. Keep an eye, yeah? He's been through hell. The drive to drop Liam off, our ritual now, prolonging goodbye, crackled with tension. He suspects, Liam said, hand squeezing mine at a red light. What if I silenced him with a kiss, fierce across console? We'll figure it. Home alone, the apartment echoed, his absence a hollow. Texts flew, miss your warmth already. Come back soon. Winter bit early, frost etching windows like lace. We escaped to Olympic National Park, cabin tucked in Hoh rainforest, moss-draped trees whispering secrets. Days of hikes through emerald halls, nights by the wood stove, bodies entwined in flannel sheets. Marry me, he joked one morning, coffee mug raised like a vow, but his eyes held a glimmer of maybe, and my heart stuttered. In a heartbeat. Reality intruded on return, an email from the gallery, rescheduling the show for spring, logistics, deflating my balloon. Liam rallied me with a home spa night, candles flickering, his hands kneading tension from my shoulders. Your time's coming, he promised, lips on my spine. Lovemaking followed, tender, reaffirming, his body a map I navigated by touch. Then the call came, shattering glass. Marcus, voice wrecked, Liam's gone. Packed up last night, left a note. Said he's heading back east. What the hell happened, Aiden? The world tilted, phone slipping from numb fingers. Note? East? I raced to the apartment, door ajar, his side of the closet barren, duffel vanished. On the counter, a scrawled letter, I'm sorry. Needed space. Love you always. L? Grief crashed, waves eroding shore. I called, voicemails pleading into void. Marcus arrived, face ashen, piecing it with me Jordan's latest plea, a family crisis fabricated? He mentioned something about unfinished business, Marcus admitted, guilt-etching lines. We searched his laptop, history of flights to Boston, texts pleading one last talk. Betrayal bloomed, thorny and acute, not just leaving, but the silence preceding. Nights blurred into insomniac hazes, sketches turning dark, jagged. Friends rallied, drinks at the bar, platitudes that rang hollow. He'll come back, they said, but doubt festered, a canker. A month in, a postcard arrived, Vermont postcard, his script shaky. Healing. Miss you. Give time. Rage followed tears, crumpling it into the trash. Time? We'd built a life in whispers, and he torched it for ghosts. Spring teased with reluctant blooms, my show approaching like a deadline. I poured pain into canvases, fractured cities, figures reaching through fog, and critics noted the raw emotion, sales trickling. Marcus visited, update sparse, Liam in therapy, doing better, but distant. He asks about you, Marcus said one rainy afternoon, over coffee gone cold. Says he's sorry. Sorry doesn't rebuild, I replied, voice steel. Yet under it, longing pulsed, a bruise tender to touch. Then, the email, from Liam, subject, home. I'm coming back. Please, talk. Heart hammering, I stared at the screen, the pull inexorable. Forgiveness or finality? The airport loomed, a crossroads in fluorescent light. The airport concourse stretched endless under harsh fluorescence, a river of hurried souls parting around me like I was driftwood. I clutched a cardboard coffee from a stand near baggage claim, its bitterness mirroring the churn in my gut, steam long gone cold. Liam's flight from Boston landed in 20 minutes, according to the board's indifferent flicker, and each tick of my watch amplified the echo of his absence, the empty side of the bed, the playlists untouched, the sketches half-finished on my desk. Rebuilding had been a grind, solitary and stubborn. After the postcard, I'd thrown myself into the gallery prep, nights bleeding into dawns with brushes and turpentine, colors bleeding like wounds. Cherry Street in Pioneer Square buzzed during install, curators nodding approval at the visceral urgency, but sales were modest, enough for a buffer but not balm. Friends dragged me to mixers, queer speed dating at a lounge in Sodo, laughter forced over craft cocktails, but faces blurred, none igniting the spark Liam had fanned to flame. Marcus mediated, texts bridging chasms, his wrecked, man. Give him a shot to explain. Explanations felt like excuses, but the email's plea, I panicked. Jordan cornered me, family pulling strings. Ran because I couldn't lose you too, cracked the ice. Love, foolish and tenacious, dragged me here, to this limbo of arrivals, heart armored in flannel and jeans. His gait disgorged passengers in waves, and there he was, thinner, shadows under those grey eyes, duffel slung low. He scanned the crowd, posture hunched like apology, and when our gazes locked, time stuttered. Relief warred with resentment, pulling me forward despite leaden feet. Aiden, he breathed, voice cracking, stepping close but halting, hands fisted at sides. You're here, I said, flat, the words a dam against flood. Up close, he smelled of airport staleness and faint cologne, same as always, a gut punch. Yeah. God, he swallowed, eyes glistening. Can we talk? Not here. We drove in silence, wipers slashing rain from the windshield, city lights streaking like tears. My apartment loomed, unchanged yet altered, his absence a ghost in every corner. Inside, he dropped his bag, perching on the couch's edge like a supplicant. I fucked up, he started, elbows on knees, voice raw. Jordan showed up at Mom's, spinning lies about reconciliation, family unity. Said if I didn't come, he'd out the whole mess to Dad. I went to end it clean. But being there, it dragged me under. The old patterns. I leaned against the kitchen island, arms crossed, the counter's edge biting into my palms. You left a note. Like we were some fling. Hurt sharpened my tone, and he winced, head bowing. I was ashamed. Terrified you'd hate me for dragging you into my chaos. Thought space would fix it, but it just hollowed me out. Words tumbled then, therapy revelations, boundaries set with Jordan via a mediator, Mom's reluctant support. I wrote every day, he confessed, pulling a worn notebook from his bag, pages crammed with scrawls. Letters I never sent. About missing your laugh, the way you hum off-key in the shower. How you made me believe in second acts. I flipped through, ink smudged in places, my name a refrain, and something thawed, grief's grip loosening to tentative grip. I sold 2 pieces, I said, deflecting, but he smiled, genuine. Proud of you. Always was. The air shifted, charged, and when he stood, closing distance, I didn't pull away. His hand cupped my cheek, thumb-tracing jaw, and the kiss ignited, hesitant at first, then desperate, months of longing pouring out in gasps and clutches. We didn't make it to the bedroom. Couch springs groaned under us, clothes shed in frantic pulls, bodies reconnecting with fevered urgency. He was everywhere, lips on collarbone, hands mapping scars, whispers of sorry blending with moans. Release came shattering, leaving us spent, limbs entwined, breath sinking in the afterglow. "Stay," I murmured into his hair, damp with sweat. "This time, for real." He nodded, fierce. No more running. Dawn crept in, grey light forgiving, and we cooked breakfast, eggs scrambled lopsided, toast charred, laughing at the domestic fumble, normalcy a fragile gift. Reentree was cautious. Marcus hosted a welcome-back barbecue in his backyard, string lights twinkling against evergreens, grill smoke curling like incense. Neighbors milled, diverse faces from the block, engineers and artists mingling over veggie skewers and ribs. Liam stuck close, hand brushing mine in passing, a secret Morse amid the chatter. When Marcus pulled us aside, beer in hand, expression probing, Liam took a breath. "About us," he said, voice steady. "Aiden and I we're together." Marcus blinked, then grinned wide, pulling us into a group hug that smelled of charcoal and relief. "Knew it. About damn time." The admission rippled outward, friends toasting with raised cans, the weight lifting like fog burned off. That night, back home, we celebrated privately, wine on the balcony, city sprawl at our feet, his head on my shoulder. "Feels official now," he said, fingers laced with mine. Summer unfolded in lazy strokes. We road-tripped the Oregon coast, Cannon beaches, haystacks looming like ancient sentinels, campfires crackling with s'mores and stories. He read from his notebook, turning letters into chapters of a memoir, tentative, queer heart on sleeve, and I illustrated snippets, our collaboration a bridge over old chasms. This could be something, he mused one twilight, waves lapping like applause. Us, creating. Back in Seattle, life layered on, jointly signed for a bigger place in Fremont, troll statue winking approval, filled with his vinyls and my easels. Dates wove routine, farmers market Sundays, basket brimming with heirlooms, trivia nights at a pub in Ballard, teens cheering our niche wins on 80s synthpop. Intimacy deepened, playful mornings turning profound, bodies fluent in each other's languages of touch. But peace has predators. Jordan's shadow lengthened, an email to Liam, "Cease it to me, family meeting. Dad sick. Need you both." The both chilled, implication slimy. Liam paled, reading it aloud in our sunlit kitchen. He's manipulating again. We drafted a response, firm boundaries, no contact without counsel, but unease seeded, a weed in the garden. Marcus weighed in over dinner at his place, salmon from the market flaky under forks. "Tell him to fuck off," he said bluntly, but eyes held worry for the brother he'd shielded. Liam nodded, resolve hardening, yet nights brought nightmares, tosses and murmurs, pulling me awake to hold him through tremors. "Won't let him take this," he vowed, burrowing closer, but fear's echo lingered. The gallery's spring show redux loomed larger, my collection expanded, pieces infused with our story, longing transmuted to light. Liam curated a corner for his readings, words pairing visuals like lovers. Opening night thrummed, crowd in black tie casual, murmurs of evocative, champagne flutes clinking. He stood beside me, hand at small of back, pride radiating as sales ticked up, a triptych to a collector from Portland, enough for a down payment dream. High on it, we escaped to the islands, San Juan's, ferry slicing blue, bike rentals winding through lavender farms. Orca sightings thrilled, flukes slapping like omens good. Evenings in a B&B with clawfoot tubs, bubbles, and wine, his laughter echoing as we splashed like kids. "This is forever," he said one star-strewn night, porch swing creaking, my hand on his knee. "You and me." I believed him, then. Fall crept back, leaves carpeting paths, our rhythm steady. Holiday plans brewed, Thanksgiving at Marcus's, expanded table with chosen family. But December's chill brought the call, Mom, voice quavering over line. "Your father's had a stroke. Come home, Liam." Please. He hung up, face drained, and I held him as resolve cracked. I have to go, he whispered. Alone. To end this cycle. Heart sinking, I nodded, packing his bag with quiet efficiency, sweaters, notebook, my sketch of us under rain. Airport goodbye was agony, kiss lingering, promises exchanged. 2 weeks. Then home. His texts came daily, Mom's holding up. Dad stable. Miss your voice. I filled voids with work, sketches turning introspective, friends' dinners a distraction. But week 2 stretched, messages thinning, complications. Stay longer. Doubt bloomed anew, insidious. Christmas Eve, Marcus showed at my door, face grim, envelope in hand. From Liam. Delivered by courier. Inside, a letter, script hurried, Jordan's here. Pressuring. Can't risk you. Ending it to protect us. Forgive me. Love, L. Attached, a plane ticket, Boston, one way. Betrayal's knife twisted deeper, carving out the trust we'd stitched. I crumpled it, tears hot, Marcus's arm heavy around shoulders. What the fuck, Liam, he muttered, dialing futilely. Voicemails piled, unanswered. New Year's dawned grey, resolutions hollow. I moved through motions, gym runs along the waterfront, breaths ragged, gallery follow-ups, polite declines. Spring show faded to memory, sales dwindled in the slump. Friends urged therapy, and I went, couch confessions peeling layers, he makes me feel alive, then ghosts. What's wrong with me? Nothing, the counselor said. It's him. But logic warred with heart, the pull unrelenting. Then, April's bloom, a knock at dusk. Liam on threshold, haggard, eyes hollowed. Let me in. Rain plastered his hair, jacket sodden, and rage surged, door half shut. Why? To gut me again. He sagged against frame. To beg. Jordan lied, Dad's fine, it was bait. I went to confront, but he had photos. Old ones. Blackmail. The story fractured out, demands for money, threats to out family skeletons, Liam paying silent to shield. I thought leaving protected you. But it destroyed me. Disbelief warred with pity, pulling him inside despite screams in my head. Couch again, truth spilling, his shame, my fury. You chose him over us. No, fear over love. Dawn brought exhaustion, tentative truce. Prove it, I said. Cut him off. For good. He nodded, phone in hand, blocking numbers, emails forwarded to lawyers. Days blur to weeks, trust a sapling replanted. We talked, endless, raw, unpacking traumas, boundaries etched in stone. Intimacy returned hesitant, touches testing waters, rebuilding brick by brick. Summer healed slow. Vacation skipped for local jaunts, Vashon Island ferries, berry-picking sticky sweet. His memoir progressed, chapters cathartic, my illustrations weaving in. Marcus mediated family calls, Mom's voice warming over time. But scars pucker. One night, storm raging, he woke screaming, Jordan's face in dreams, and I held him, whispering anchors. We're stronger, I said, and he clung, believing. Fall's equinox marked a year since that first kiss, balcony toast with cider, city aglow. To us, he said, eyes clear. Unbreakable. Yet breakables persist. A letter arrived, Jordan's, final plea, one meeting. Closure. Liam burned it, ashes to wind, but embers glow. The equinox's golden hour lingered on our balcony, cider's tang sharp on tongues, the space needle piercing twilight like a needle threading fate. Liam's toast, to us unbreakable, hung in the air, earnest as prayer, but my smile masked the tremor, the letter's ash still bitter in memory. Jordan's shadow, though scorched, cast long, and as we retreated inside, his hand in mine felt like a lifeline laced with fray. Fall deepened, Seattle's palette shifting to ochre and slate, mirroring the nuanced hues of our mending. Liam dove into his memoir with fervor, afternoons at a cafe in Wallingford, laptop glowing amid steam and chatter, words pouring like rain into gutters. I joined sometimes, sketching patrons' profiles, baristas with tattooed arms, elders nursing lattes, their stories bleeding into mine. Our evenings wove domestic spells, him stirring risotto in our Fremont kitchen, me chopping onions with tears that weren't just from the blade, laughter bubbling when garlic burned or wine spilled like confessions. Intimacy rebuilt in layers, tentative at first, kisses lingering longer, hands exploring with rediscovered wonder. One night, after a reading at Elliott Bay Book Company where he shared a chapter on fractured kin, voice steady amid applause, we walked home through drizzle, shoulders bumping. In the apartment, door barely shut, he pressed me against it, kiss hungry, hands urgent. Need you, he gasped, and we tumbled to the rug, bodies fervent, reclaiming territory lost to doubt. After, curled on floor amid scattered clothes, he traced my ribs. You're my constant. Winter's grip tightened, holidays a gauntlet. Marcus's feast expanded, new partner, Elena, a sculptor with warm laugh and calloused hands, table groaning with latkes and prime rib, stories overlapping like harmonies. Liam shone, toasting found families, eyes meeting mine across candles, a nod to our shared survival. Mom joined via Zoom, face softer now, apologies veiled in I'm proud murmurs. No Jordan mention, a truce unspoken. New Year's we claimed private, rooftop in Capitol Hill, borrowed from a friend, fireworks blooming over the sound like defiant stars. He pulled a ring from pocket, simple silver band, etched with coordinates of our first kiss. Not proposal, he clarified, slipping it on my finger, but promise. To fight for this. Tears pricked, joy sharp, and we kissed through countdown cheers, resolution sealed in salt and spark. Spring still brought renewal. My studio time surged, commissions from the show trickling, album covers for local bands, murals for a coffee shop in Georgetown, colors bolder, lines less guarded. Liam submitted memoir excerpts to lit mags, rejection shrugged off with fuel, acceptances celebrated with takeout from a hole-in-the-wall in Chinatown International District, dumplings steaming like victories. Yet undercurrents stirred. Dreams plagued him, Jordan's voice, accusatory, and mornings found me soothing, coffee brewed strong. Therapy continued, joint sessions now, couch confessions untangling knots, my abandonment fears rooted in Evan's ghost, his in familial fractures. We're mapping minds, the counselor said, but together, safer. Summer beckoned with road calls. We chased Route 101 south, coastal curve hugging cliffs, stops at redwood groves where trunks dwarfed us to whispers. In Mendocino, cliffside in with ocean roar lullaby, we hiked headlands, wind whipping hair, hands clasped against gusts. Imagine here, he said, perched on driftwood, us, old, still chasing horizons. Vision warmed, chasing winter's chill. Back, routine anchored, volunteer shifts at a youth center in Capitol Hill, mentoring queer teens on art and words, Liam facilitating writing circles, our energies sinking in purpose. One kid, Jamie, wide-eyed with braces and sketches clutched tight, reminded me of us, raw, reaching. You too give hope, he said shyly, and Liam's arm around my waist tightened, affirmation unspoken. But August's heat wave baked unease. A call from Marcus, Mom's visit. Next month. You in? Liam hesitated, fork pausing over salad at our patio table, Fremont's troll statue distant guardian. Have to. Closure. I nodded, masking churn, family as minefield. Mom arrived, airport hug awkward, her perfume cloying. Dinner at our place, pasta primavera, wine loosening tongues. She eyed the ring, smile tentative. Serious, then. Liam's hand under table squeezed mine. Dead serious. Talk turned to Dad, stable, remarried, and Jordan, voice dipping. He's struggling. Rehab. Liam stiffened, but nodded, boundaries recited like mantra. She left with promises of visits, air lighter, but his sleep fractured that night, murmurs of no more. September's harvest moon swelled, gallery inviting a solo, My Urban series, evolved with relational motifs. Prep consumed, late nights in the studio space we'd rented in Pioneer Square, turpentine sharp, canvases sprawling. Liam brought sustenance, subs from a deli, kisses between brush strokes. Opening thrum success, crowd thick, red dots multiplying, a critic's luminous vulnerability quote in the program. He stood sentinel, pride palpable, toasting later at a speakeasy in Belltown, gin fizz bubbling like us. October chilled, leaves skittering like secrets. Memoir agent signed him, small press buzz, readings booked in Portland, Vancouver. We travel tandem, him on stage, voice resonant, me sketching crowds, portraits capturing awe. In a Vancouver cafe post-event, rain lashing panes, he leaned close. This life's ours. Earned. Yet earning extracts toll. A package arrived, anonymous, brown wrap, containing photos, us at the coast, candid, intimate. Note clipped, he'll never escape. Jay panic surged, Liam white-knuckling the images, my arms steel around him. Police report filed, restraining order sought, but violation chilled marrow. Nights patrolled windows, sleep shallow. Markers rallied, legal aid from a friend, Elena sculptures a distraction, clay sessions in her garage, hands messy with creation. Channel it, she urged, and we did, Liam's chapters darkening with rage transmuted to resolve, my paintings gaining edge, shadows defining light. Halloween passed in quiet, costumed walk in Fremont's parade, him as a flannel-clad lumberjack, me the city fox, laughter defiant amid revelers. November's grey pressed, but gratitude anchored, friends potluck, table laden with pies and tales, toasts to resilience. Thanksgiving loomed fraught, mom's invite extended to all, dad's shadow looming. Liam paced, decision crystallizing. We go. Together. No hiding. Drive to Vermont was marathon, podcasts on queer history buffering miles. Family home, colonial in Burlington, Maples Bear, welcomed warily. Dad, cane tapping, eyes appraising, mom fluttering, Jordan absent, a mercy. Dinner tense, turkey dry, conversation skirting minds. Liam spoke first, post-pie, voice even. About boundaries. Jordan's actions ended contact. This family's mine too, but on my terms. Dad nodded slow, fair, and mom teared, hug enveloping. Night in guest room, bodies close, he whispered, survived. Lovemaking soft, reaffirming, dawn's light forgiving. Return flight buoyant, but landing jarred, email from agent, publisher balked at edgy family content. Liam deflated, but rallied, rewrite. Sharper. Winter solstice neared, Yule log crackling in our fireplace, improvised hearth of candles, vows renewed in flicker. January's frostbit, resolutions whispered, therapy milestone, no contact upheld. But February's Valentine's brought bloom, reading tour booked, my mural commission for a community center. March danced in, cherry blossoms tentative. Then, April's cruelty, call from mom, hysterical. Jordan. He's gone. Overdose. Silence swallowed, Liam's face crumbling, my hold fierce. Grief's wave crashed, funeral plans fracturing air. Do I go? He asked, eyes lost. You decide, I said, heart aching. He chose yes, closure's final cut. Airport farewell echoed first goodbye, kiss lingering. Back soon. Love holds. Texts flowed, services heavy. Healing starts. But days stretched, silence creeping. Week's end, Marcus called, he's staying. Needs time with family. Dread pooled, history rhyming. Voicemail left, come home. We need you. No reply. Days to week, worry to wrath. Friends consoled, but hollow. Finally, letter, handwritten, postmark Burlington, grief's pulling. Can't breathe here, but can't leave yet. Wait. Please. L? Wait. Again. Trust's thread snapped, scissors cold. I packed his things, clothes folded neat, notebook returned, left at door with note, love waits, but not forever. Choose us all them. Doors open, but not ajar. Spring unfurled without him, blooms mocking. Studio time solace, canvases fierce, betrayals reds, losses blues. Gallery show curated solo, themes of rupture and repair, crowds murmuring empathy. Summer sulked, solo hikes in cascades, echoes of our steps. Marcus visited, guilt heavy. He's lost, Aidan. Blames himself. Then find his way back. Voice steel, heart pulp. Fall's turn, equinox again. Door knock, him, gaunt, eyes haunted. I chose. You. Bag dropped, arms open. Relief ward caution. Prove. He did, therapy intensified, memoir shelved for living, hands mending what words couldn't. Winter warmed slow, trust a seedling. Holidays hybrid, Vermont visit joint, Jordan's absence a scar faded. Dad's nod approval, Mom's embrace tight. New Year dawn collaborative, joint project, graphic novel of our arcs, his words, my lines. Agent buzzed, options whispered. But healing's helix spirals. Dreams still jolt him, my sleep vigilant. Yet mornings, coffee shared, his smile genuine, anchor holds. One dawn, balcony perch, city stirring. Unbreakable, he asks, echoing. Learning, I reply, hand in his. Bend, don't break. The second equinox found us on that same balcony, but the cider had given way to hot toddies, steam curling against the crisp bite of impending frost, the Space Needle a silhouette etched in deepening blue. Liam's question, unbreakable. Hung softer this time, laced with the humility of seasons weathered, and my response, learning, drew his nod, a quiet pact renewed in the spaces between words. His hand in mine was calloused now from guitar strings, he'd picked up the instrument in the lean months, strumming folk tunes in our living room like therapy, and the ring on my finger, once a promise, bore the patina of trials, silver warmed by skin. Fall's descent was deliberate, leaves not falling but drifting, as if reluctant to let go, much like us in those early days post-return. Liam's choice had been visceral, the drive back from Vermont alone, windows down despite the chill, blasting mixtapes of Springsteen anthems about highways and hard choices, pulling into Fremont at dusk, headlights cutting the gloom like resolve. I'd met him at the door, not with open arms but measured gaze, the stack of his belongings a barrier I'd built in absence. I sold the memoir draft, he said, voice steady despite the hollows under his eyes. To fund a fresh start. No ghosts. We started small, coffee dates in neutral territory, a cafe in Finney Ridge with exposed brick and board games gathering dust. Conversation skirted scars, focusing on futures, his guitar lessons via YouTube, my mural sketches for the community center turning activist, murals of intertwined figures defying shadows. Laughter crept back, tentative, over burnt toast or a botched chord that twanged like a snapped string. Winter wrapped us cautious. Joint therapy became ritual, sessions in a sunlit office overlooking Green Lake, where ducks paddled oblivious and our words unpacked like luggage too long carried. Grief isn't linear, the counselor noted, as Liam described Jordan's shadow not as villain but void, a brother's loss refracted through addiction's prism. My contributions were quieter, fears of erasure, the echo of Evan's silence amplified by Liam's flights. You're naming it, she affirmed, and slowly, we did, boundaries with family, weekly check-ins like vital signs. Holidays tested tensile. Mom's visit extended, Thanksgiving at our table with Elena's kin, diverse tapestry of aunts and cousins, laughter loud over stuffing and stories. Dad joined via call, voice gruffer but present, toasting to mending. Liam's toast followed, eyes on me, to anchors in storms. Cheers rang, but later, dishes sudsing, he leaned close. Holding. New Year's we hosted, small, intimate, fairy lights strung across beams, friends in sweaters toasting with mulled wine. Jamie from the youth center performed spoken word, lines sharp on identity, drawing nods and snaps. Liam strummed accompaniment, chords underscoring vulnerability, and as midnight struck, his kiss was public, unhurried, cheers enveloping like embrace. January slate skies birthed ambition. The graphic novel coalesced, our Bendwood, hybrid of memoir and myth, his prose lyrical on fractures, my illustrations fluid, figures bending like willows in wind. Agent pitches flew, rejections polite fuel, until a nibble from a Seattle indie press, intriguing. Develop. Celebrations were simple, hike in Rattlesnake Ledge, summit views of Snoqualmie Pass vast, picnic of cheese and figs, his head in my lap as clouds scudded. Spring surge aligned serendipity. Mural install at the center, vibrant arcs of hands linking across divides, unveiling with youth choir singing anthems of belonging. Liam read from Bendwood drafts, voice carrying, and afterward, Jamie hugged tight. You made this real. Pride swelled, shared, our hands brushing in the crowd. Travel tempted, reading tour for him in the Bay Area, me tagging for mural consults in Oakland. Fog-shrouded mornings in Sausalito, coffee on piers, his signing line snaking, fans murmuring relatable. Evenings in hole-in-the-wall taquerias, laughter over spilled salsa, bodies sinking in motel sheets, familiar hunger renewed. Summer's heat wave baked boldness. We camped in the Olympics, Hurricane Ridge trails winding through subalpine meadows, tents pitched under star-pricked skies. Fireside, guitar in lap, he sang originals, ballads of lost boys finding harbors, voice cracking on choruses, my harmony joining soft. Lovemaking under canvas, urgent yet tender, nature's chorus indifferent witness. Return brought buzz, press deal linked for Bendwood, modest advance but milestone. Launch party at Elliott Bay, shelves stacked with advance copies, crowd eclectic, queer-lit folks, artists, family beaming peripheral. Readings alternated, his words evoking gasps, my visuals projected, synergy electric. After, bar crawl in Pioneer Square, toast slurring to dawn. Fall's harvest ripened risks. Mom's call, dad's checkup good. Thinking family reunion, neutral ground, Portland. Liam's jaw tightened over dinner, fork tracing plate. With conditions. We set terms, no Jordan talk, us as unit, and drove, Willamette Valley vineyards blurring green. Hotel neutral, dinner at a Fanta table in Pearl District, candlelit with charcuterie and confessions. Dad's hand extended, proud, son. Mom's tears cathartic, and Liam's exhale, post-meal walk along river, was release. Closed a chapter. November's grey gifted grace. Youth Centre expanded programs, us co-leading workshops, art and narrative for at-risk queer youth, circles closing with shares that pierced, stories of rejection mirroring ours. One evening, a teen's poem on loving through leaving drew Liam's arm around my shoulders, solidarity silent. December deepened intimacy. Solstice ritual, Yule log of cinnamon rolls, wishes written on slips, his, steady harbor, mine, shared sails, burned in sync, smoke curling prophetic. Gifts exchanged, him a leather-bound journal for my sketches, me custom picks for his guitar, engraved harmony. Winter's core tested. Flu season felled him, feverish in bed, my nursing with broth and stories read aloud, Garcia Marquez tales of magical realisms. Delirium brought murmurs, don't leave, and I soothed, cool cloths, vows whispered. Recovery slow, but closeness forged, couch marathons of master of none, laughter healing better than meds. January thawed to promise. Bendwood edits flew, our collaboration seamless, his revisions sharpening edges, my panels evolving with feedback. Agent hinted podcasts, tours. My solo exhibit booked for summer, harbors and horizons, themes of navigation. February's chill cracked with Valentine's, surprise weekend in Victoria, British Columbia, ferry glide smooth, but chart gardens blooming defiant. High tea formal, pinkies up mocking, then castle ruins explore, his hand in mine amid stones. Night in Harborview room, lovemaking with window open, seals barking distant serenade. March's equinox neared, cherry blossoms shy. But prelude shadowed, email from publisher's lawyer, libel concern, Jordan's estate contesting defamatory passages. Liam paled, reading aloud in kitchen, dawnlight harsh. They want redactions or pull. Rage simmered, my hand on his. Fight or fold? He paced, guitar untouched. Fight. Truth's our anchor. Legal consults ensued, pro bono from queer advocacy group, depositions prepped, but stress etched, sleep evaded, strings snapped under fingers. April's showers mirrored moods. Workshops paused, focus on defense, affidavit signed, memories mined for proof. Marcus testified remote, voice firm on brother's patterns. Mom's support letter arrived, trembling script, truth heals. May's bloom brought battle. Hearing in small claims, judges gavel neutral, Jordan's rep, a slick cousin, arguing slander to memory. Liam testified, voice steady, not slander. Survival. My testimony followed, sketches submitted as an emotional record, panels depicting fractures without naming. Ruling favored, factual narrative prevails. Relief crashed, hugs in courthouse hall, tears salt. Press nibbled, local queer outlet interview, art of advocacy, and Bendwood released uncut, sales spiking on buzz. Summer's heat healed. Launch tour coastal, readings in Astoria, illustrations displayed pop-up. Crowds grew, fans sharing scars, our stories bridge. Evenings, motel balconies, guitar strums lulling to love, bodies salt-kissed from beach dips. Fall's turn, equinox third. Balcony perch, toddies steaming, Bendwood hardcovers stacked inside like trophies. Unbreakable, he asks, eyes clear. Bent, but holding, I reply, kiss ceiling. Winter whispers ahead, but we've learned its language, resilient, rooted. Yet roots delve deep, sometimes to rot. December's quiet shattered, knock at midnight, Marcus disheveled. Liam, accident. Hit and run. Hospital. World tilted, drive frantic through snow-slick streets. ER wait interminable, coffee vending bitter. Surgeon emerged, stable. Concussion, brakes. Drunk driver fled. Relief sobbed out, room visit, him bandaged, eyes fluttering. Aiden. Weak grip, my vigil through night. Recovery loomed long, casts, physio, memoir to paused. But in sickness, solidarity, bed baths gentle, stories read halting. Worth it, he murmured, pain med slurring. For us. Spring's renewal synced, first steps unaided, mural touches assisted, youth center visits wheeled then walking. Mom visited, hands-on care, family threads tightening. Summer's warmth walked us forward, beach therapy in Westport, waves lapping casts shed. Guitar resumed, fingers relearning frets, songs of scars as maps. Fall's equinox fourth. Balcony, cider spiced, his arm around me strong. Learning. Eternal, I say, heart synced. But learning's curve steepens always, horizons calling. The fourth equinox arrived unheralded, much like the accident that had nearly unmoored us, but our balcony vigil had evolved into sacred rite, cider now laced with ginger for his lingering cough, the space needle a steadfast sentinel against the bruised sky. Liam's arm around me was sinew and certainty, forged in physio's fire, and when he echoed, learning. A ritual query born of our bends, my eternal drew his chuckle, low and resonant, the sound a balm against autumn's encroaching chill. Inside, the apartment thrummed with accumulated lives, his guitar propped by the couch, my latest canvas leaning against wall, untitled seascape of tempests tamed, Bendwood copies dog-eared on shelves, spines cracked like healed bones. Winter's prelude was gentler this cycle, snow dusting evergreens like powdered sugar rather than shrouds. Recovery's tail end brought Grace's first unassisted gig at a open mic in Ballard, his strums tentative but true, crowd hushed for originals on collisions and comebacks. I sat front row, sketchpad idle, pride etching my face deeper than lines. Applause swelled, and backstage, curtain corner reeking of stale beer, he pulled me close. Your face in the lights. Anchor. Holidays layered inclusive. Marcus and Elena's solstice party ballooned, potluck of global dishes, queer carolers twisting jingles profane, Liam leading a toast with uke borrowed, chords plucky. Mom arrived bearing Vermont maple, hugs lingering, Dad's video call crackling with keep fighting. New Year's Eve intimate, just us, rooftop access bartered, countdown marked with slow dance to Coltrane, his breath warm on neck. January's frost-fueled forward. Bendwood's paperback run announced, Tour Redux planned, virtual hybrids for accessibility. My exhibit harbors open to acclaim, galleries in Portland and Vancouver requesting, murals commissioned statewide. Collaboration deepened, graphic novel sequel pitched, Echoes, exploring aftershocks of choice. Spring's verdant push paralleled progress. Physio cleared him full, celebratory hike in Discovery Park, Salal berries tart on tongues, views of sound sparkling promise. Youth Center workshop resumed co-led, teens works blooming, poems illustrated, zines bound, Jamie's piece on second skins framed in our hall. Travel beckoned balanced, Bay tour tandem, him reading in Mission District cafes, me guest lecturing at CCA on visual narratives of resilience. Evenings in hate, vinyl hunt yielding treasures, Velvet Underground for grit, nights in Victorian B&BS, lovemaking rediscovering strengths, his body whole again under mine. Summer's zenith crested communal. Pride in Seattle pulsed electric, parade floats rainbow riot, our float DIY, Bendwood banners, youth art murals. We marched hand in hand, Marcus waving from sidelines, mom texting hearts from afar. After party at the center, dances till dawn, sweat and sequins, his kiss amid confetti a vow public. Fall's harvest hummed harvest. Reunion in Portland neutral ground solidified, extended kin, partners mingled, dad's stories of youth softening edges. Liam's speech post-dinner, guitar accompanied, families chosen and given, both mended. Applause thick, my hand under table his lifeline. November's dank gifted grounding. Memoir workshop launched online, mentees from across coasts, his feedback gentle scalpel. My studio series evolved, collective currents, portraits of queer elders, wisdom in wrinkles. December's hush held holy. Solstice fire pit in Golden Gardens, beach bonfire legal, wishes aflame, his deeper roots, mine shared blooms. Gifts poignant, him a custom easel, carved initials, me sheet music transcribed, our harmonies notated. Winter's core conspired crisis. January storm felled power lines, blackout 3 days, candlelit meals of canned soup, stories swapped like currency. His nightmare resurfaced, accident replay, drivers face Jordan's ghost, and dawn found us tangled, whispers exorcising. Shadows fade, I soothed, fingers in hair. February's tested tenues. Publisher offered sequel advance, but edits demanded vulnerability, draft chapters on loss raw. Critiques clashed, agent pushing a darker, him resisting exploitation. Nights debated over wine, voices rising, but resolutions in embraces, compromises carved. March's equinox fifth loomed, but prelude pierced. Call from mom, dad's fading. Come say goodbyes. Drive East Marathon, snow squalls blurring lines. Hospice room hushed, dad's hand frail in Liam's, word sparse, love you, boy. Live full. Passing quiet, our vigil through, tears communal. Funeral Vermont spring mudded, graveside eulogies heartfelt, Liam's guitar lament, chords weeping. Estate settled amicable, Jordan's absence echo faint. Return flight heavy, but landing lighter, he release me, Liam said, hand squeezing. Spring's renewal rooted resolve. Memorial tattoo inked, anchor with coordinates, matching on ribs, pain cathartic. Workshops infused legacy, sessions on Greece geography, maps drawn collective. Summer's heat healed horizontal. Tour coastal cascade, Astoria readings, Olympic sketches, audiences swelling with shared sorrows. Evenings, campfire variants, beach fires, more symbolic. Fall's palette peaked purpose. Bendwood 2 contracted, echoes greenlit. Exhibit toured, currents evoking tides of time. November's gratitude gathered, center gala, us honored for mentorship, speeches succinct, his bridges built together. December's close circled complete. Solstice balcony, Toddy's traditional, his arm sure. Eternal. Infinite, I affirm, city lights winking complicit. Yet infinity arcs, crises chronic. January's dawn, email from estranged cousin, Jordan's effects, letter unsealed, forgive my mess. Love endured. Catharsis quiet, read aloud over breakfast, tears seasoning eggs. February's Pulse pushed publication. Launch hybrid, virtual throng, physical crowd masked. Readings resonant, illustrations immersive VR tour. Sales soared, podcasts pursued. March's fifth equinox. Balcony right, cider evolved to mead, honeyed, heady. Learning eternal, he muses, eyes horizon bound. Mastered, maybe, I counter, kiss deepening. Winter yields to spring, cycle ceaseless, but we've etched hours, love as verb, vigilant and vital. Years fold like accordions, compressions, and expansions. Bendwood trilogy crowns, tours global, London readings, Paris murals. Home anchors, Fremont nest expanded, nursery whispers for future kin. Crises cameo, health scares minor, family phrase mended. Youth Centre legacy, scholarship in our names, mentees mentored. 10th equinox, grey at temples, balcony steadfast. Toddy arthritic hands clasp. Unbreakable. Beautifully bent, he says, my echo. City endures below, our harbour,